The Calgary Flames are a team in something of an identity crisis. After moving on from their core a few years ago, the Flames are rebuilding, but also a competitive team. They just barely missed the playoffs last year, so Flames fans are hopeful that with just a few minor tweaks, this team will be right back in the thick of things. There are a lot of people hoping that this team, with all their young talent, is going to make the next step this year, but I am not one of them. Calgary Flames, here's why I hate your stupid fucking team.
I never heard of half of these guys. The ones I do know are way past their prime.
Most of these guys never had a prime.
This guy here is dead.
Cross him off then.
The Flames largely stood pat from their plan last year, keeping together most of the same forwards other than one notable addition. Jonathan Huberdeau is still their top producing forward, an afterthought somewhat in the Matthew Tkachuk trade, only because Tkachuk went absolutely Super Saiyan in Florida. Huberdeau wasn't bad, putting up 55 points in 79 games last year, but when the guy got traded for put up 109 points at the same time, the criticism is going to come down. Huberdeau plans to be joined on the first line by Elias Lindholm, a very underrated center, and potentially newcomer Igor Sharangovich. The second line is going to look basically the same as it did last year: Andrew Mangiapane, Mikael Backlund, and Blake Coleman. All serviceable players. Mangiapane is a bit on the younger side, so he has some upside, but you basically know what you're getting from all three of these guys. 50 points, maybe 60 if you're lucky. The third line has some of the more intriguing youngsters like Adam Ruzicka and Dylan Dubé. Nazem Kadri will be centering the two to give them some veteran leadership when he's not getting suspended in the playoffs. There's a couple of interesting young players on the fourth line with Jacob Peltier and Walker Duehr, centered by Kevin Rooney, who is, a 30-year-old journeyman fourth liner. While the forward core is solid, it's on defense where the Calgary Flames really shine. They may not have a stud number one defenseman like Adam Fox or Cale Makar, but they do have 6 very good defensemen that they can play in just about any situation. I mean, Mackenzie Weegar, the other piece that came back in the Tkachuk trade, was absolutely great last year and has been a very solid top pairing defenseman for the last few years. He's paired with Rasmus Andersson, who was a very solidly almost a 50-point player last year and is pretty solid on both ends of the ice. In the second pairing, you've got Noah Hanifin and Chris Tanev, who are both completely capable of playing top pairing minutes if called upon. Nikita Zadorov is perfectly serviceable in the bottom pairing role, and Jordan Osterley, yeah, he's a career minus player, but he's also played on some pretty crappy teams, so I can see why Calgary would think he's a candidate for a bounce back here. In goal though, that's where things start to get dicey. Calgary's big splash in 2020, Jacob Markstrom, has been a middling at best goaltender for them. Last year was his worst of the three in Calgary, putting up only an .892 save percentage and a 2.92 goals against average. He'll be backed up by 26-year-old Daniel Vladar, who's only played in 55 NHL games and has a career save percentage around 90. In truth, the key for the Flames this year is going to be very simple. Can Markstrom bounce back to his form even from 2022 if they want a realistic shot at going back to the playoffs?
Anybody got an idea?
Oh, what a joyous day it was for Calgary Flames fans when Daryl Sutter was finally kicked out from behind the bench. Everyone was hoping with the new hire they'd go in a different direction from Sutter, and then they hire his assistant. It's Ryan Huska, pictured here being the Mano Toussaint version of Jeff Bezos. Now, Huska has had some success in juniors where he coached the Kelowna Rockets to a Memorial Cup appearance, and he coached the Adirondack Flames, Calgary's affiliate in the AHL. It's not a completely absurd hire from that respect, but from the philosophy of a team that really seemed to just kind of give up on their coach last year, I'm not sure why just promoting his assistant is going to bring some newfound spark to the team.
Who the hell are you?
I'm the new guy.
The Flames' big trade in the offseason was acquiring young Igor Sharangovich from the New Jersey Devils in exchange for offloading Tyler Toffoli, a move that made sense for a rebuilding team. They also signed the aforementioned Jordan Osterley for under $1 million to be their third pairing defenseman, so even if he sucks, it's not that big of a risk. With the 16th overall pick, Calgary selected Samuel Honzek, who was projected to go around the late teens, early 20s, so a pretty good selection there. He probably won't play for the Flames this year, but he could have an opportunity to sneak into the lineup next year given the state of their forward core.
You gay Irish fireman, you're okay, but you I do not like.
I honestly do feel so bad for Jonathan Huberdeau because he was the key piece in a trade that looked like it was going to be a great deal for Calgary, and a year later everybody's saying that the Flames got completely fleeced. Huberdeau was a 100-point guy the year before he was traded to Calgary, and last year he came back down to earth really hard, playing on a much worse team, while Matthew Tkachuk was shining down in South Beach. I think Huberdeau's still a really good player, and I hope he rebounds for Calgary this year because he could be a key piece for them going forward. I think the Flames stay about where they were last year. They were a borderline playoff team that just missed out on the last few days of the season, and I think that's where they're going to be this year as well. If a few things go their way, if Jacob Markstrom wakes up and becomes an actual good NHL goaltender again, then yeah, I think the Flames can make the playoffs. But are they going to do much in the future? That's really going to come down to Ryan Huska and how good of a coach he is. My gut feeling is that it's going to be a lot more of the same with Daryl Sutter, just a younger face. Flame on, baby.